Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
We might as well start from my furthest right.
Artie Merrill, WNESU, Grafton and Athens.
Lynn Morgan, YesU from Athens and Grafton.
Jim Bazina, helper in finance.
Priscilla Lambert, I'm a representative from the Rockingham Board, where I'm chair of the Rockingham Board, and I'm clerk of this board.
And I'm Jack Pryor, and I'm the chair of this particular board, as well as a member from Grafton for the WNUESD, and I'm chair of this.
Andy Haas, superintendent of schools.
Molly Bannock, representing Westminster, Bellows Falls Union High School Board Chair.
Jim McCall of Rockingham School Board.
Team BLC, Westminster.
Cheryl Charles, chair of the Westminster School Board.
Linda Farkas, Rockingham, Bellows Falls High School Board, and this.
All righty.
I don't know who these people are. Like Nancy, I obviously
yeah.
figured that out, but I don't know who Terry is, and I don't know who Flowers are.
Well, we often,
So I don't have to board members, that's
we
fine.
often invite members who have joined us online to tell us who they are. And Andy, that's you. Nancy, hello. Terry Arroyo.
I don't know who that is.
Terry, if you want to just say hello and say where you're
Hi.
from.
Yeah, Terry Arroyo. I live over in Bellows Falls. We were just curious and we saw the link and we noticed it was on now, so we joined. So hi, everybody.
Hello.
And then obviously Jennifer Keenan
Jennifer Keenan.
and Chris Kibbe just entered the room.
I see that. Chris, you want to say hi? And how you're here and in what capacity?
I'm here. I'm in an undisclosed location, but
And do you represent anything or anybody?
I represent the desire to go on vacation, but not having made it yet. That's what I. Rockingham, town of Rockingham, and I am the WNESU treasurer.
Excellent. There's someone that has no name but has an interesting picture on the screen. I don't know if that's. We tend to ask people to announce who they are, because I have a thing about anonymous stuff. But if whoever you are that's got the picture of the summer flowers.
Is that Tara?
Usually she has her name, so that's why we're gonna bring it up.
Really good. Who's this?
All right. Well, in any case, we'll move along. Okay. Adjustments to the agenda. Does anyone have any adjustments? So you mentioned something, but I can't remember what it was.
We need to add the July 2022 minutes,
All right, we'll do that for at least purposes of discussion.
and we should add something about discussing the pay date for employees.
I don't have an objection to that. I think that can be discussed under superintendent and/or finance. And we can make that 6B1 if you want. Just put down payroll. And is there anything else that anyone has? Hearing nothing.
You're going to take off.
Okay.
You were going to take off 9A.
Oh yeah, 9A. We did this, so I'm taking that off the list. That was one that I remembered.
I think we did 8B too.
So we need to
We're
ask,
gonna redo it.
we need to ask for a change in the motion.
Okay.
Just
All right. So with that, communications and public comments. We have a couple folks here. So
Lisa, can you come up?
Yeah.
Just so we can grab you.
Well,
Let's
no,
pretend we're
it's how you
preschoolers.
become public.
We can all get on our knees and get really small.
Here, I can't see you yet. Have a chair.
Thank you. I'm reading a statement. My name is Lisa Statement. Okay, I'll try again. I'm a little nervous. My name is Lisa Stapleton. I am here representing the leadership team of the WNEA, the association representing both the professional and support staff of Wyndham Northeast Supervisory Union. Last Friday was the first payday of the 22-23 school year. Employees who have their paychecks direct deposited to their bank accounts have consistently had their money available to them early in the morning of the Friday payday. On that day, a Friday, before a 3-day weekend, SU employees received a notice that there had been a glitch with uploading the SU file to the bank, and they would receive their money in their bank account by 5 p.m. on Friday. That did not exactly happen. There were several employees who did not receive their direct deposit by 5 p.m. Some received it later that night, some received it the next day, and one person never received a direct deposit of her pay. When she reached out to the business office on Friday, she was told it was coming. There was a few exchanges over the weekend, and on Tuesday, she was told that her paycheck had been mailed, even though she had always had direct deposit. Finally, today, she has her paycheck in hand. This is unacceptable. The entire SU staff continues to mistrust the business office because of repeated errors throughout the years, including delayed pay, incorrect deductions, and retirement snafus. Many people who have done professional development and/or stipend work for the SU this summer are still owed money. We have also not received the back pay for the support staff, and we have not been given a date for that to happen. In addition, the staff bonus for the 21-22 school year that was supposed to be paid in the spring was not paid until August, which resulted in retirees and staff that had left the district not receiving the bonus, even though they had fulfilled the work of the 21-22 school year. As an association, we are tired of dealing with these issues. It takes a great deal of personal time in the evenings and weekends to sort out all of these mistakes. Business office and human resources employees often do not return emails unless a union member is CC'd, and when they do return them, they are often defensive and unapologetic. We are bringing this to the attention of this board in hopes that these problems will be rectified and that issues will be addressed with transparency and compassion. Thank you for your time. We appreciate the working relationship we have had with the administration and the board, and we hope to continue to resolve issues together.
Thank you. Just for the record, this item will be addressed not immediately, but when we get to 6B. So I won't necessarily promise that you'll be completely satisfied, but you'll at least be addressed. Thank you. The next item up.
Hold on a minute, Mr. Chair, I'm here for communications all the time.
Well, actually, Chair's going to rule on this. You are absolutely entitled, all members of the SU boards are members of this committee. They're not members of the public, they're members of the committee. They may not be voting members, but they're members. I would invite you to join us tonight, take a seat if you like, and at the appropriate time, discuss whatever it is you'd like to discuss. But I want to try to make a distinction between having board members of the board step outside the role and then step in. I don't think it's a good practice, and I hope you'll forgive me for this. But what I would say, David, is if you've got a comment on it's an item before the board tonight, join us. We'll grab seats available, it's right there, or wherever Molly.
What is that appropriate time, Mr. Chair? Could you be a little more specific?
Why don't you stand up, sit right there, and join us, and we'll deal with your item where you see it appropriate. And if you would like
I think
to,
it's appropriate now to deal with it.
what I'm trying to say, if you have an item, tell me what it is. I can add it to the agenda, and we can discuss it.
Mr. Chairman,
I am here for communication and public comment.
All
If
right,
you are overruling that point, then I think that I would like your board to consider overruling the chair. If it chooses not to overrule the chair, then I would like to know specifically where this will be addressed. Will it be addressed under director's comments?
certainly could be if that's where you prefer to do it.
No, I prefer to do it under communication.
Right,
and
but
public
I'm
comment.
saying that as an elected board official, that's when I would like you to do it. Now, moving on.
Deborah just joined us. And has
Deborah.
her hand up, just
Hey there.
so you're aware.
Hey, Jack.
Yep.
I am asking because I had trouble logging in for some reason. The internet wasn't,
About
cooperating. Anyway, my question is, I don't have open comment. I wanted to ask if we are going to have an executive session this meeting, as I asked you earlier today, for a specific reason about a lawsuit.
You know what? I've been out of my house for many hours, so I probably didn't see it. So if you would like us to add a item down at the bottom here, under new business, we can do that. Is this a personnel issue? Is that what I'm understanding?
No, it has to do with the resolution of a lawsuit that was brought up back in May of this year. And turned out there were other things going on in the past. It's things that should be
You did
sensitive
mention
enough
this.
for
Thank
due
you.
to a former employee who should be discussed in executive
Right.
session.
We'll hold on just a second.
Yep.
So you're asking to have a legal matter as a item, excuse me, it would probably be actually 9, it'd be the new 9A.
Okay.
legal item.
Yes,
All
thank
right.
you.
Now, normally we add items without objection. Is there an objection? I'm sensing there might be one.
We should let the board vote on it because since it's not added under the adjustments to the agenda or order, I can't see the board probably disagreeing, but because it's not added under adjustments to the agenda, the proper.
I do
protocol.
realize that's where they're supposed to go, but I was not able to log in fast enough to get it done as the very
Yeah.
first item of the board.
I'm asking for everyone's discretion that we add this. If there's an objection, we'll have a vote. I think that without objection, we are adding it.
Could it be after director's
I
comments
would-
so that,
Well, we will
Add it
meet,
by
we'll
consensus.
meet, we'll actually discuss it in the executive session after the director's comments, but for the purposes of the organization of the meeting, that's where we put it. All righty, next item is approve and review and approve board minutes for August 17th and July 20th, 2022. There was some question about whether everyone was able to find the minutes, so I don't want people approving something they haven't read.
I got August 17th, I didn't get the July.
All right, how many people have not seen the July minutes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have a majority of the board hasn't seen it, so we probably should put that aside for now, and we'll vote on the one everybody's
Can we
read.
also get it added to it at this time so that when it is, we can just approve it as due and just make a note that we need to add to Chris Kibbe's motion about going into exec session and invite administration.
yeah, we're gonna stop. You
I'm
gotta,
sorry, help me out, I'm
Yeah.
confused.
Let's move
we
on.
gotta stop interrupting him to begin with. Right now, we're not gonna approve those because half of us haven't seen
Seen
it.
it, right,
So
so we're gonna
approving
stick on
August
August
17th.
17th, that's where I thought we were, sorry. You got a little,
Can we say that the minutes are on the website so
Yes.
that everybody should be able to review them?
minutes are
They
on the
are on the
website, so
Okay.
everybody should be able to review them. All right, very good. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of August 17th. So looking for motion.
So moved.
A motion, second? Got a second? All right. Thank you, Lynn, and thank you, Deb. All in favor, or is there,
David,
first, is there any discussion?
No.
Okay, all in favor? Yes?
I was at the meeting.
Yes, you were.
I was not listed as being in the meeting.
Thank you.
I was quoted as being.
You
in the
were
meeting.
quoted.
I'm seeing that, yeah, you're right, I'll make sure we.
My name,
All
my
right.
name wasn't on the.
So then are there any little hiccups anywhere? Not seeing any. Then I will look for I will assume this is a motion to approve the minutes as amended, Deb?
Yes.
And I will assume that's what you've been also in? All right, so now that we have the motion to approve the minutes as amended, what say you, Deb?
Aye.
All right, Hardy,
Yes,
Lynn,
Yes.
Priscilla,
Yes,
Molly,
Yes.
Jakes,
Yes,
Jean,
Yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Brenda.
Yes.
Just forgot Chris Kibbe.
Oh, Chris Kibbe, yeah, see, I didn't have you on my little handy sheet here, sorry. Chris Kibbe,
Yes.
yea or nay? All righty. Moving on to reports. Superintendent, you're up.
All right, so we opened school on last Wednesday. Welcome back, students, for the start of the 22-23 school year. It was exciting to see so many smiling faces. As I toured the schools and spoke to students, many of them expressed their joy in returning to school. Just as Teen, you were saying, your kids said the same thing.
So happy.
Kudos to our maintenance and custodial staffs for getting the buildings ready, for our students to return. The first payment for the sign-on bonuses for new employees that was approved through Esther will be on Friday, September 16th, just to keep people aware of that. We are anticipating after-school programs to begin next week. Some of our sites may be delayed due to some staffing issues. Sarah and Doran, who's our after-school program director, is working with buildings to get the programs up and running. All our elementary staff participated in the first part of Responsive Classroom 2 training, and all of our middle school staff participated in the first part of Responsive Classroom 1 for middle school training. And there will be 2 follow-up training dates later in the school year. And just so everyone's aware, Responsive Classroom is a student-centered social-emotional learning approach to teaching and discipline, and it's part of our social-emotional goals for our recovery plan, and it's our Tier 1 or universal approach for addressing student issues. Just to make people aware, as per the collective bargaining agreement, we will be notifying teachers of section 16.6, which is retirement incentives, by the end of the week. And 16.6 is any teacher who is at least 50 and has at least 20 years of service in the district, who announces their retirement and has enrolled in the district's 403B plan, shall be eligible for a $7,500 retirement stipend. The teacher must make an application for the retirement stipend on or before October 1st of the school year of retirement. The board shall have the power to waive the application date requirement. For the purposes of this section, retirement is defined as collecting of a teacher's retirement pension. The stipend will be paid out by August 1st of the following fiscal year. We'll be contracting with, I'm going to butcher their names here, but it's Cerium Dutka Engineers for $33,600 using ESSER funds to conduct a facilities audit. With the raising of that bid waiver, that got us to the point that we could work with that company to come in and do a facilities audit of all of our buildings. And then as continuation of our recovery plan, we will continue to work with focus schools. We worked with them, we began working with them a year and a half ago on developing our recovery plan. And this year we'll be focusing on building leadership capacity within our schools through instructional leadership teams, or ILTs. We love acronyms. But each school has identified teachers who will work with each principal and small teams to strengthen support for the development of school-based instructional leadership teams to drive the improvement process aligned with the goals and outcomes aligned to the strategic plan. These teams will meet monthly as a whole supervisory union, and then they'll meet throughout the month at the school level. There's a link in there just making the board and everyone else aware that there is a ban on suspension and expulsion of students under the age of 8. And that's goes down all the way through pre-K programs. So, but just so the board is aware of that.
Run that by me again.
Let me pull up the link here so I can tell you exactly what it is. So, so with pre-qualified public and private universal pre-kindergarten education, or UPK programs, that effective June 1st, as required by Act 35 and Act 166, that there is the new law disallows suspension or expulsion of any child under the age of 8.
Does that include in-school suspension?
That includes, yes, and so they go further to define in this memo definitions of suspension and expulsion is in-program suspensions, out-of-classroom program suspensions, or permanent removal. So,
Is this something we're going to need to have referred to policy?
no, because it's now law. So you should be fine.
Obey the law, end of story.
I'm going to let a person in just because I'm seeing them right now. And then the last thing I have on the report is just I'm going to continuously update you on our enrollment numbers for our schools. So here for September, this includes pre-K, those students attending our pre-K programming. We have 1,015 students total. And so if the board would like, we can break that out even more. I have it by total school population, but I can break it out by grade level if you'd like. So
I would suggest putting it on the website at some point.
we're working towards publishing, but we wanted to get those numbers to you because we're just a couple days in, and so we know where our numbers are. We've had a couple late enrollments, so those, the numbers fluctuate but we'll fluctuate it on a monthly basis as opposed to going there. So.
All right.
That is all I have.
Who has questions for the superintendent? I see your hand up, so why don't you go right ahead, Cheryl?
Just one, Andy, about the audit, what that entails, the facilities audit.
Yeah, so that will be, what they will do is they will come in, they will look at all of our structural components, but also, our heating, ventilation systems, our cooling systems, our safety systems, and all those things. They'll conduct a full audit to give us an answer of what condition they're in, and will help inform as we go to buildings and grounds with looking at ESSER projects of where they kind of fit. I know you've been involved in a couple of them maybe in the past.
Yes. And they're really extensive, and they'll at least give a board some direction as to creating a priority list and making sure that as you go along, you've got a sense of what money costs are going to be for those larger items, capital items.
And then we hope to then be able to use that to inform boards that if there's any fund balance and you want to try and put some funds aside to address some of those issues, at least we have a plan for how, like, we're not just kind of always talking about the parking lot. We have actually got a plan for how to address it.
And we had we're talking about the buildings and grounds side. My only request on that is that the Buildings and Grounds Committee, and more specifically the committee chair, be in intimate contact, because I think that it's important that I want the board to be a participant rather than a recipient of the whatever the end product is.
Definitely.
What's the timing, Andy, of this?
So I just recently got notification back that they will be able to do it. So I think they're pretty quick on a turnaround, if my memory is correct. Give me a second to pull it up, the email. So apologize. She didn't give me a timeline. I would have to follow up with them
Okay.
to know exactly.
It would be
I mean,
helpful.
if it's something like way out there, then we're gonna look at someone else. This was someone who we had contacted earlier, but because of where our bid thing was, they didn't even bid on it. But when we raised the bid, they were more than happy to get back involved in that.
Yeah, because it'd be helpful to have this information by town
Next
meeting
week.
time.
I'd like it like very quickly. I want quality, but I want it as quick as possible. We've been asking for, trying to do this since February, January last year.
We have a lot of contending projects potentially, and I think we discovered some needs that we might not have all been aware of just tonight alone. And I think it'd be useful to have that, have our priorities and those enunciated by the by this consultant agreed on by this board as part of the process, and do it earlier rather than later, because as you say, it's part of the budget process. So, all righty. Any other questions, anyone? How about Deb, you or Chris? All right, well then we're going to move on to finance, and Jim, you're up.
All right. Those two, just quickly hand them down.
All right.
In September, there's not a lot to look at with finance. I don't know if there's two in there or one. There's two. I'm all set. So this gives you kind of a detail, a starting detail of where we are. The first sheet is on the expense side. And again, I just will say, we have encumbered funds that we think we're going to expend in payroll and some of the other areas. And the column over on the far left says fiscal year 93 adopted budget. So that's what we're measuring against. And again, I will say to you, the real bottom line, the 10,729,000 at the very bottom, that's what we have to make sure that we're measuring against, because that's our approved by voters bottom line. Now, you may transfer money, you know, if there was a need, if there was an emergency or some situation that created some unforeseen situation, we would transfer money between lines, and we're allowed to do that. And I will say to you, this is a very arduous task. And I will say to you, we are realigning even the finding out who is working for us with contracts. And again, you went through approving recently a support staff contract, which had to be realigned and people had to be put on steps. We don't have a listing of health insurance people that is reconciled with the bill that we get, but it's something that we have to do. It's just like reconciling your checking account at the end of each month. We have to do that for the health and dental bills as well. Now, I just want to say, and I mean, I guess I've heard it before, but I'm not sure that this board understands where they were prior, I mean, 6 months or a year ago. But
Pretty good idea.
But you definitely were in an area of, I don't want to say chaos, but you certainly weren't running on track. And I mean, I sometimes wonder whether people fully understood where the heck you were a year from ago. And I mean, I think Andy's had that conversation a couple of times, like saying, wow. And I just want to make sure you understand. I mean, we were not in compliance. I mean, when you got an audit report that had, 14 out of compliance issues, I mean, my God, I've never been in a situation like that. When you were in a situation in which your bank account wasn't reconciled for the past year, are you kidding me? I mean, that's unheard of. You'll never find anybody that has run into a situation like that. But I just want to make sure you understand, we were way out there. Now, we are trying to do a lot of things. Recently, the board authorized dumping the e-finance system. Now, we're still tied in it, and we are still going to be tied in it until June 30th. We couldn't get out of it as fast as we thought.
You wouldn't want to make the cold turn swap out anyway.
Well, we spoke with the new people, and they said, no, you can't go that fast. The other thing that we had is you were with a bank, and the municipal piece is over in New York. Now, I'm not sure what drove that. I have no idea. But I can tell you, it is nothing that I would ever recommend or get involved with. Now, we started to make the shift as of June 1st. And I thought, well, this ought to be a 2-week turnaround. And it wasn't. And it ended up being a conversion as of the maybe the 3rd week in August. Now, when I say that, I mean, this conversion had the checking accounts, direct deposit account numbers that had to be converted, checked, and tested. And I got to tell you, it may, when you're doing your personal checking account conversion, it may be of a blink of an eye. But in a large organization with 400 potential people, it's much more challenging. There's a lot of legal stuff because we have to collateralize all of our monies so that it's protected, because FDIC only goes up so far, 350, 375, I'm not sure the exact number. But we're required by law to collateralize anything over and above that. So it was a tough conversion, and I wish, honestly, and I can tell you this, I wish I could go and your problems were gone. But that's not reality. That is not reality. And listen, I will say this, if you have somebody that can come in and do that, I'll step aside and I'll be gone without a blink. But please know that I am absolutely doing every single thing possible to get you to the finish line. That's all I'm here for. I have no other driving force but to get you over that finish line. But wow, I got to tell you, I struggle sometimes because it's not easy. There's a lot of obstacles that we're trying to overcome. And when I say that, the finance people, 4 of them are brand new. 2 of them have been there. And I mean, I got to tell you, I think they're operating at 100% right now. And they're doing all that they can with payroll and payables and everything in between. So I just offer that to you. And again, I say, if you can fix it in a different way or want to fix it in a different way, please, I support you. So I just wanted to make sure you understood that, because this is challenging. And again, when you're putting out a payroll and you don't know how exactly much you're expending, and cash is king. And I'm moving from one bank to another bank, and I want you to understand, I'm not collecting taxes right now. And I'll go over the revenue page in just a second. But we have to make sure that we're covered in both places right now because of the reconciliation lapse. And so when we move from the bank in New York, and we're gonna give it 2 months, and then we'll be pushing everything through and over and separating it, because when Westminster pulled away, we also had to separate it at that old bank as well, and to make sure everybody had sufficient monies
Yeah.
to cover it.
Knew that was gonna be an issue.
And it was an issue, and again, it was challenging as well. So,
But can I ask a question? I think, was one of the reasons those paychecks went out late last week, though, we were asked to sign the warrant like on, what, like Wednesday of last week? Which was 2 days before checks were supposed to go out. So I just wonder if we had signed the warrant this week instead, and the paychecks had just gone out through the same bank, then they would have had 2 weeks to make that changeover, because the next checks aren't going out for another 2 weeks. It was just a very last minute thing. And I think the reason why the employees are frustrated is because this, and it's, I have no doubt that it's better now than it was, but it's been a long, very frustrating process.
Let's find out first part of that, which is whether or not the warrant process made complicated matters.
well, we were moving as fast as we could.
Right.
And I just want to say, the objective certainly was, since June 1st, was to get the heck out of the bank that's out of town.
Right.
And in doing so, we moved some monies to cover those payrolls at the time. I don't think the warrant, the signing of the warrant, was necessarily the holdup or played any part in it, other than the first warrant, which had the money moved.
Yeah.
That showed the large amounts of money that were moved. But I don't think that was an issue. I don't think that played a part at all. But I do think that in a school system, you have to have processes in place. You have to know who is working in your system. I mean, that's not like,
Do
we not know that?
People that
no,
aren't here.
no, but I've never been, and I'm an old timer. I mean, I've been 34 years in the business. I've never been in a system where I didn't know who in the heck was working for me. And again, you'd say, well, come on. I mean, you got to be able to do that in an hour and a half. Well, I'm going to tell you, no. It's not that easy, because you're also dealing with a large number of federal project employees. And you have employees that are working at a number of sites. And not to make this too convoluted for you, but also what plays in this is we deal with that 20-digit code, which the state of Vermont has put on our backs. And I will say this, that's what directs your money, whether it be payroll or expenditures here. That's where it directs your money. If you don't have that coding right, it does not go in the right bin. And
That was part of the problem the first time around.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, you know, and I say this, if you look at last year's expenditure budget or expenses, did it really go there? Was it supposed to go there? And I will say this, the people did not realize what the code was. They did not realize how critical that code was.
There was no fail-safe that said, are you sure?
No.
Or put out the title that would confirm for you that you were putting it in the right box. None of that. Andy?
Well, we're gonna get to the payroll later, right?
Yeah, well,
Okay,
this will follow that, but yeah, I think that, you know, there's a couple things we'll want to ask about that, but right now, let's just get through the core of this presentation.
So-
ask questions about it, and move to the payroll issue.
Okay, and so I'll just reference you on line 19 on the expense sheet, which is health insurance. Now you'll notice, if you look at the left, you'll say 2,179,000. on the right, the very far right, it says 1,037,000 balance.
Yep.
And I can tell you this, it doesn't, that's not correct.
Yeah, could be.
And so this will have to be reconciled, and it will go down, and it will go in the right bucket. But right now, we're not there. So I just wanted to share my frustration a little bit, because it's a difficult task, and the revenue side, which is the last page, gives you some sense of where we are. And again, we've not collected assessments as yet, but we will be. We're going to start rolling those out on a monthly basis. The tax stuff has not come in as yet. So that middle column, 23 actual received, is the amount of money that we've received so far. And you'll see it's 1,227,469. Well, you know, that runs fumes on the gas tank. So that's where we are. And again, I please understand, and I apologize that I can't fix it any faster, but this is where we are, and sorry.
Do we have questions for our finance? Chris, I'm sorry, I did see your hand up, and I was going to call you first. My apologies. Chris, go ahead.
This may be bleeding through to this payroll issue a little bit, but I just wanted to ask Jim, have you ever worked in a district where the benefits person was not under the direct supervision of the business manager?
In Hartford, the HR person worked under the superintendent. But I mean, you're obviously very tied to that person, because every personnel change, every benefits change has to be related and communicated. So, you know, you're connected at the hip whether you want to or not.
And I think, Chris, just for the record, Mr. Pratt, in one of his last decisions, almost a year ago today, made a decision that the HR would move to under the superintendent's office, and that was due to some personnel issues that were going on with the previous business manager. Since Jim has come on, I broached it to Jim, I think maybe even after you mentioned it, or maybe slightly before that at another meeting. And I think we said, it doesn't really matter to us, we're working together of where it is. I mean, if Jim is gonna be, you know, be the ultimate supervisor, or I am, I think we need to work together on it.
Right.
So, I mean.
It is worth noting that this is still a small district, and the executive team's like a half dozen people. So moving somebody, you know, from one type to the other, when they're trying to sit in the same office under the same circumstances, I mean, you guys, that shouldn't be the hang up.
Yeah, so I just wanted Chris to know that we have talked about it, and it's you know, and I've even spoken with Joellen about it. I don't think it matters to her, you know, who ultimately. I mean, ultimately, I guess she answers to the superintendent anyway, but.
As we all do.
All right.
Well,
are there any, go ahead.
That it is my strong opinion that this collaboration between the benefits person and the folks that are trying to get budgets and payrolls done is essential, and I think it requires direct supervision, and I think it was a terrible move on Mr. Pratt's part, and I believe the position should be put back into the business office, and that person should be answering to the business manager and then to the superintendent. Just my opinion.
Now, one caution to all of us when we have these discussions is, you know, we do let the superintendent, the staff, work out their issues. If they fail to accomplish things, then we hold them to account. But how they get there is their call. Other questions for the business manager, not related to the payroll? Yes, Quinn.
I was just wanting some more clarification on the insurance piece. So this piece, the increase at the end column, you're saying is not correct? And so it's because of the way the reports come out of e-finance?
Right now, as of September, there are a lot of the new staff that haven't registered with an application into the health insurance.
Oh,
So they will.
okay.
But we have to make sure we've accounted for everybody.
Mhm.
And I've got databases which split off teachers, split off support staff, and other people that have set benefit packages.
Mhm.
And I've started that process, but not completed the reconciliation of it.
Okay.
Yes, so,
Okay, I had several questions. The staff bonus, the first one went out August 12th for the returning employees. The next one is supposed to go out for new employees in September. Is that one going to be on track and go out then? Because
That's what I just reported.
yeah. And I would caution that we have a payroll item on the agenda, and I want to make sure we stick it in this
well,
week.
this is kind of more finance, not the.
Well, I was gonna say
total
anything
payroll.
having to do with payroll or payment
Okay.
system, I think.
And
fits
then the
there.
next one for returning was in October. I did hear during comments that back pay was not reconciled yet, and I thought the bonus was being put off so that back pay would be done for all of the support staff. Where are we on that?
And I'm not sure what back pay,
The back pay for the corrections as to the support staff contract was what I was
The retroactive
understanding.
stuff. When it's built into
That should have been encumbered.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm asking now is because it should have been from encumbered funds from last year, so that's why I'm
Yeah.
asking now.
I haven't seen a list yet of people or amounts. But maybe that's been given to Jason, I'm not sure, I haven't seen it.
But that money was from encumbered funds, so wasn't that supposed to have gone out by August so that we could have?
All of that money is
So-
still there.
I just want to clarify for the record, the entire support staff was sent a memo back on August 24th from me that said that retroactive pay is planned for Friday, September 23rd.
Okay, thank you, that's what I needed to know.
And that went out, as I said, on August 24th, because I was communicating with Jason, we were trying to align when he has to do these big pays, because he's got to collect all this information, and it's got to be kind of orchestrated.
You previously reported that to staff justice. Yeah, Jean.
I just have I have a clarifying question because I'm fairly new to the board. I mean, it's been reported in the newspaper and everything that this business office has had struggled for a number of years. So what you're talking about is like, you're stepping into the situation where the business office is really totally out of whack, and nothing's really, there's a lot of stuff. Do you have like a grand list of things that you're seeing that are the major issues, and then how you're gonna address those each and every step of the way? Or is it like things are popping up and you're like, I didn't know that was an issue?
I'm fixing the stuff that I think needs to be fixed.
Right.
And I will say this, bank, I thank God they didn't get a bank out in California.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, I thought the bank stuff had to be fixed immediately.
Okay.
I thought e-finance, and I've only been here since May 2nd, but on May 3rd, I was saying out. And that, unfortunately, even though we will have to struggle, and I want to say this is going to be a struggle between now and June 30th, because the way the e-finance system is set up, stuff has to be entered in multiple times.
Mhm.
This isn't an automated system. So We can't fix it immediately.
But I guess my question is, do you have like a master list of things that are currently, or that have been historically issues, and then like a set of like top priorities on how those are gonna be addressed
Yeah.
moving forward? Because I feel like that would make teachers feel better. It is really frustrating to be in a district where you have to check your paycheck every.
Yeah, but some of it,
Yeah.
they can't see. In other words, a teacher won't care what reconciliation of a bank account entails. I mean, that's nothing to them. But again, it's a priority for me
Mm-hmm.
because I have to know whether I'm gonna overdraw when I make the payments.
Mm-hmm.
And so some of it is probably outside their purview for what it, I'm just trying to make sure that they get paid. And
The chair is going to note that, again, we're stepping a little bit out of this particular item.
Okay.
I want to make sure, partly because I don't want it to be split up and scattershot, I want us to kind of do this in piece. Okay, is this specific to?
It's the audit, I was asking, I want to
Okay.
know where we're at, where we're at with the audit. What your expectations are as to.
my
finishing it.
expectations that in sometime in November, they will come in and,
Until November.
right,
Well, this is audits for this
Yes.
past year
Right.
closing, not prior years.
Right.
Is that what you're asking about?
Yes.
I think he's asking about the
Last
fact that
year's.
we have
that's
never,
finished.
we've
Is it
never
finished?
approved the audit. We've never had the audit brought to us for approval, and we need to do that.
I can do that.
That would be a nifty thing to do for next meeting. I understand there's known unknowns and unknown unknowns. I just gave you one.
Yes.
Okay. I have one question. It's a dumb one, but you have encumbrances of salaries at 70% of the budget. Okay, normally the benefits track with the encumbrances on payroll. Here we've got an encumbrance of 22%. So that's a lot of difference.
I think the 72 is incorrect.
Okay, one of them was.
Yep.
And I was looking at it and thinking that something's wrong in a major way there.
Yep, the
Thank you.
4% is incorrect as well.
Okay, that was was going next. That's a budget item.
Yes.
And wanted it noted, and again, I assume
Thank
this
you,
is reporting hiccups.
Yep.
And once you know that, then the F column for increases and decreases starts to, you start to ask the questions about what is it we're increasing and decreasing? Is it relative to what we expected? Is it, what does that column represent?
The increases and decreases.
Yeah, column F.
That's really, if you look at what we've expended to date as of September 7th,
Right.
and what we've encumbered, meaning what we reserved for monies,
Yeah,
that's the balance that's left over. And when we take 10 million, subtract the $8 million worth, that's what we've got left as available.
right. It was just that I saw negative numbers here and it was listed as increase, decrease rather than remainder. And so the question was, is that title wrong, column F?
Well, it should be balanced.
That's what I assumed.
It should be
Okay,
balanced.
you know,
The
So-
big caveat here is that he's dealing with this system, so.
I
you
know,
can't really
I
start-
understand he's trying to drive a broken car.
Yeah, but
And,
to pick apart, not,
No,
lines. Waste of
like I
time.
said, just wanted to make sure I understood what we were looking at. If there are no other questions on this, we'll let us, and I do thank you for this, and I want to make sure everybody's had their questions answered before we move. Payroll is a subset of this, so why don't we chat about that? There was a statement made earlier at the beginning of the meeting that we understood that there were delays till Friday. And I did make some calls around, and Friday is not only in our CVA, but it's in everybody's CVAs. And the guarantee at virtually every place I called was that the payroll that your paid, your electronic money would be available at the end of your work shift on Friday. That's what I got from everybody I called. Now, when direct deposit was started, people sold direct deposit to employees based on, well, we upload the money and because it's all electronic. Yeah, you could probably get the money a little early, even maybe on Thursday, but that was never in the CBA. It's never been. I've not found a company anywhere that says that that was the case. I know custom trumps the legality for people, but that is what I including your old office I called, and that's what I got back as a response.
The one mistake that I made is probably 2 weeks. I'll say probably a week and a half from the August 31st. I should have said, that's it, cutting off. If new people coming through, sign them up and get them ready. But we couldn't possibly, and again, I think the flaw was we were trying to get everybody into the system, get everybody paid. And unfortunately, that makes no sense. Because there's so much up front. I mean, there's I-9 forms that have to be filled out. There's other forms that have to be addressed. And they have to be put into the e-finance system as well. Those are not, 30-second type of moves. It takes a lot of time. And I think rushing, as we did, was a flaw. Next year, the cutoff, if the superintendent will authorize it, we are going to cut off and say, look, you may not be in this first check run. We'll make it up in the second. And that's what we should have done. It would have made more sense.
Because you had too many new employees and too many,
Yes.
and we
Yes.
needed to take a timeout.
Yes.
Well, and there were pushes at the end to fill positions, like,
Yes,
extremely quick.
within days.
And that doesn't even give us time to get all the contracts done. But I know Priscilla had her hand up, but I just wanted to speak to some of the process also. So I don't know if you want to let Priscilla go first.
Well, Priscilla has her hand up, and we'll try to do this. All I would ask is that no soliloquies for anybody, and I want to go around the board rather than have people ask all the questions. Go ahead, Priscilla.
I would like to note that I recognize that you've been working really, really hard, and that this was a glitch. And I have listened to the presentation that the association member did at the beginning. I understand her feelings as well. I know past practice has been that payroll was put out to the banks by 5 o'clock on Thursday, and checks were available at 8 a.m. on Friday for anyone that didn't have that. I think that's important. I think that's something that is grievable if we don't maintain that as much as possible. If there's a glitch, of course, we need to let them know that there's a glitch, and I think then people can be very understanding of the business office as well as the other way. I would like to note the largest employer in the US, the military, pays its people with direct pay money available at the start of the day on payday. Cash lines are also available at the start of the day. This is actually a bigger issue of consideration for employees. The military's leadership principles are to first complete the mission and second, take care of its people. As without people, we cannot accomplish the mission. This is what we need to do. Our employees expect pay to be available for use on Friday pay dates, first thing in the morning. They or their families should not have to wait until later in the day to pay bills or share money available to shop or do other items. In the past, money was to be transferred by 5 p.m. or Thursdays. Let me finish.
No,
please.
actually,
Do
I'm
not
going to interrupt you for a
And
reason,
checks
please.
available at 8 a.m. on Fridays. We need these to be adhered to and not changed, which would cause an adverse action on employees. We're trying to retain people, and I think we heard the person speak to us, Jack.
No, but I asked
So
no
we are
clarification.
we are also capable of, in the future, doing something about this and being respectful of our employees, because we want to retain them. We want good staff, we want good people, we want to also help our business office in ways.
Let's
that
hear
we
what
can.
Mr. Hawes has to say.
Yes, please.
So, a couple of things that I think people just need to understand about how payroll is processed, and I only have the intimate knowledge because I've done it for the last year. There are federal guidelines for when you can push up what's called an ACH batch, which is all the information to have direct pay happen. If you don't meet those federal timestamps, then it will not post right away the next morning or by certain times. So I don't have all, but 4 p.m. is one of those timestamps. So I don't know where 5 p.m. comes from. But 4 p.m. is the time that it has to be stamped by. And when Jason was pushing up payroll this past time, he was told by Mascoma Bank that he would be allowed to go after 4 p.m. as he was working on trying to get things done. Something on Mascoma Bank's side stopped and prevented him from doing that and forced him to have to put in a ticket. So therefore, he couldn't work on it until the next morning, Friday morning. And so he did, and they resolved the issue, but said it won't get posted until the end of the day. But it will also depend on the employee's bank and when the employee's bank posts them. So therefore, we put out a statement midday to everyone to let them know, and we told them it should be in your bank account by 5 p.m. depending on your bank. And so therefore, at 5:01, I had employees starting to send me emails telling me they didn't have it, and I worked with each one of those employees to make sure it got done, and we were able to resolve it. But some banks didn't post until 6:30, some banks didn't post until later. The CBA says that we need to give them payroll by Friday. As you noted, Jack, there is no time. Now, in past practice, there was an employee here who would stay till extreme hours of the evening, charging you extra overtime to get that done. That employee isn't with us anymore, and we have salaried employees who were working hard to get things done on time. And so things were pushed up. There was a clerical error with one employee who used to get direct deposit, but because that employee moved from one district to another district, one of our staff missed a checkbox so that the direct deposit went through. And so we didn't find that out until Tuesday when we were able to go into the system and look at the system. But I think every effort is made to try and communicate with employees when there are glitches. When there are issues that are on our end for why someone doesn't get a check or something like that, we're moving to try and resolve that as fast as possible. There are times where employees don't turn in timesheets, but still expect to be paid. And so there's a lot of turnaround. The other piece that's been ignored for many years within this SU is that under the guidelines, you're only supposed to be 1 week in arrears on your pay. And we've been 2 weeks in arrears. And so there have been many times where people have been paid either prior to working or people who have been paid and then have resigned and left and gotten a check who actually owe us money.
Yes.
And so this year, working with the business office, and Jim came in and said, nope, we are going to get back on schedule. So we now are 1 week as opposed to 2 weeks. So that creates some of the pressure now to get this all done very quickly. So this was the first big push with only 1 week of getting things done. So I think there's a lot of moving parts that people think, like, oh, I got my email with my direct deposit slip, so therefore the money should be in my account. Those two are not connected in any way. So the system pushes out an email with your, whatever that balance, I can't even remember what it is, the check, you know what I'm talking about, it has your FICA, your deductions and everything like that.
Yep.
that comes from the system. That doesn't even come from your bank, and the two are not connected in any way.
Right.
And so, payroll was made on time. There were some people that a contract wasn't in the business office, and so therefore they didn't push it through. We had one employee who did move from one district to another that did get missed on that because of that piece. So there were a couple of glitches, which I understand, and trust me, I think it's, I don't know how anyone could go without a check, so I understand that, and there have been times when we've had those issues, and Jim has worked to resolve those things, but it's a arduous process that I don't think a lot of people know and understand, but everything was done to try and get it done on time, and when the bank tells you, oh, it can happen, and then it doesn't happen, that creates that other glitch on the other end that has nothing to do with us, so.
Permit me,
Yeah.
I think the biggest holes here in the process, we're making a change to a bank that's more responsive not only to the SU, but to the employees. Ascoma Bank is a B Corp. It has part of its mission to be responsive to all the stakeholders, including the employees. We did that because it was a B Corp. We did it because there are benefits to employees as well as to the institution. We have a Friday, we have the CBA says Friday, doesn't say Friday at 12 a.m., it says Friday. Your end of workday has been customary. The extra day to get it is a grace. I think the things that we've missed here was we knew there was a potential problem and we didn't communicate it to employees. Hi, we're making this transition, there could be issues, please let us know, bear with us. That would have been good. Second one is when it hiccuped, note saying, this has happened, we hope that it doesn't cause you, that it isn't causing you any problem. One sentence, one phrase would have made it feel at least like you're trying. And I think this is, it's not bookkeeping, Jim, it's communication. And I think it's appropriate for this board, and I think, I hope I'm speaking for everybody, that we're really sorry this happened, and I think the administration's really sorry it happened, and it should have said we're sorry that it happened in the note to you all. And that we can address. We can't address the fact that the stupid bank told us 1 hour and it turned out not to be true. That we got no control over. And I hope that as we go forward with Mascoma, that the benefits of this changeover will become obvious, much as the changeover from e-finance, I promise you, will cause at least one major hiccup between now and July. It's just not going to happen without it. And again, bear with us, we're trying. Are there any other questions anybody's got, or comments or anything else? So I'm going to just check everybody else because and I encourage people to speak, because I'm going, the next meeting, if you don't speak up at least once in the meeting, I'm going to call on you like it's fifth grade. So does anybody have any questions? Priscilla, go ahead, and then be brief,
I guess
please.
my one question then is that if we've transitioned to this bank and now hopefully this glitch is gone, is the association and all of the members that we're paying, those that are not association and everybody else that gets paid, are they going to have that available like it has been in the past so that they can use it first thing in the morning on Friday? Because that has been the expectation in the past.
That is a policy
I'm
issue. And we should talk about it as a policy issue, refer even to the policy committee. Because I think that
past practice.
Yeah, but past practice is not what the CBA says. And it's also, we can't be responsible for what the bank does. Our responsibility is to make certain money's there at the end of the pay, at the end of the work week on Friday.
That's why I'm asking.
Okay, stop, and we're talking to you.
This is the board. Okay. So let's move on with the board business.
Can Jim
I
answer
think
that or not? I'm just wanting to know.
I think it all depends on when you get all of the material, and I'm saying timesheets as well to process payroll. If we got them on Monday, we could process it on Monday. But the problem is, those those items that you need to process payroll are just coming in the nick of time so that you're pushing it through. But
They
we-
were supposed to be in
Yeah,
too.
again,
I
I
agree with you,
really
Jim.
do
Those were
want to-
supposed to be Monday
Okay,
before.
Priscilla, I'm gonna reel you out of
Also,
order,
yes,
because I did ask you to just one question, the rest of the board.
I was
Yes.
just agreeing with you.
Okay, well, just, I don't want to be rude or anything, but I want to move this along. I believe we've addressed this issue without objection. I'd like to move on to the next item on here, which is, first off, Jim, if you want to go home, unless you find the rest of this really scintillating, I let you do that.
I think I will.
I think that's wise. I wish I could do the same. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Buildings and grounds is up on committee updates. Buildings and grounds did a tour of buildings. Tell us about it.
We did. Thank you everyone that participated today. We met at the SU office at 1:30 and we proceeded to go to the Grafton Elementary School and opened up every door and looked in every nook and cranny, and then we went to Saxon River Elementary School, and the principal there took us through every room and showed us what they're doing, what rooms, how many kids in each room. The principals, we didn't get to see the principal at Grafton, but we saw the one for Saxon River, and we saw middle school and high school. The principals were really good at just showing us what was behind every door. The Bellows Falls Middle School, of course, is, beautiful because it's been all renovated, and then we went through the high school, and really we haven't done anything but do a lot of looking. We have some other schools to visit, and then we'll get together as a committee and just kind of write down everything we saw and, what our thoughts are. The main reason for going, or I think there was two reasons, because I just think it's, I've been on boards a long time. It was very interesting to be able to just walk through the schools and see what the schools are about, see places where maybe they, are in disrepair and maybe, wow, this is pretty nice here. And, the schools, some of the schools they just shine. You can tell that people have really put their heart into them. The floors are shining, the windows are clean, others need a little work. So as a committee, we're gonna come together and, make some charts and, talk about what we saw and what maybe room available, maybe maintenance that needs to be done. It was just really it was just a good all around, just walk the halls, open every door, what's behind it. It went well. I thought we had great participation, and I'm looking forward to going and seeing. We haven't seen Central Elementary, Westminster, or there's still a building out in Westminster West that the Westminster School uses. So our hope is to go see those three schools in a week or two.
I was just gonna say, as soon as I know your schedule, like, you gotta go back and look at your schedule, then we can get that out, we'll get that out to board members.
It won't be this week, though.
No.
Oh, tomorrow? No.
Tomorrow, can we tell you?
Wait.
It's after this meeting. Thank you, and thanks to everybody that did participate. People asked a lot of questions, there are a lot of good questions, and I think we all learned a lot. Does anyone have any questions for Molly or the members of the P&G? Not seeing any. Let's move on to finance, and I don't know who has this. Do you have this, or does Chris have this? Chris?
You haven't met.
Have you met since the last time we all?
We haven't met since the last time we've met, so I don't have anything except that the budget process will be starting soon for all the districts, and including the SU.
Thank you very much, then. That was policies. Where are we at with policies?
We have a meeting scheduled for the 14th at 5:30.
All right. Do we have items distributed, what you want to look at yet?
We had 4 that were on the agenda for last time that had to be out to different people to respond to, and we'll cover those first, and then we'll see if, I'll check by the end of this week to see if there's a couple others. I think Molly had written me about one that she wanted us to review as well.
So when you say the ones that were sent out to people, you're talking about the ones for like the high school stuff?
Yeah, there were a couple high school
Okay,
ones.
so
and
my
those-
understanding is that those will be taken care of at a high school policy meeting?
If they are high school only, fine, I think
That's the way they should be handled.
uh,
So I don't believe, so John and I have done nothing about those. So if you're looking for those policies that have to do with just high school, like one of them was about graduation, that is a high school policy, and the policy committee for the high school needs to.
I'm going to suggest it would benefit to do both, because curriculum is an SU matter, but and since you're on the policy committee, I would expect you to advocate for just, what you think the policy.
That's
should be.
okay, but if John and I are supposed to be working on those and you think we're prepared for the 14th, we're not. Because I haven't done that.
All right.
He might be, I mean, that's a whole week
Well,
away.
it sounds like
So if
there's
there's
some.
4 others that ought to be done, we ought to do those.
All right, well, I will rely on you guys to coordinate, and we'll move on. Yes, I see a hand up,
Where
Lynn.
is that meeting? I've got no
At the
information.
SU office.
I haven't seen anything on any of
Okay,
those.
what
Yeah,
time?
the agenda hasn't been put out, and the other hasn't been put out, but it will be
What time will that be?
5:30.
5:30? All right, and we'll expect an agenda shortly.
The reason they're WNESU policies is because they're just general policies, and they can be more specific at.
I'm confident that you'll all work that out, and since I'm part of that group, we'll see you then and see you there. Resignations and appointments, item 7. Do we have any?
We have one.
Yeah,
It will be a name that is not unfamiliar because we've brought the name and I had to withdraw it a couple times, but Susan Stromberg, or Sandra Stromberg, pardon me, we're looking to bring on as a Title I interventionist for the Compass School. We are responsible as the LEA, and they're in our catchment area to provide Title I services to those schools. So we provide services to Compass School, we provide services to Manhattan. Like a school like Vermont Academy chooses not to participate, so then they don't have to deal with the federal regulations. So that's just to kind of give you a brief of that. Sandra is someone who.
Does it need to be an executive session?
I don't think it does. I mean,
is there someone here who feels that this is an executive session matter?
And usually we discuss personnel. and-
Well, if it's a straight hire we do, if there is a concern about the hire that would prejudice our relationship with the person. then we can go
Mr.
to
Chair?
executive session. Yes, sir. Ms. Kibbe.
I would like to move the appointment of Mrs. Stromberg for Title I teacher at Compass. So long as no one else, wants to discuss it further.
All right, we have a motion and we have a second. So is there discussion, people, or is there a concern that would require a legal concern presumably?
I just don't know anything about her, so
All right. We did do a presentation on it, but we could do it again if we could do it briefly.
We were sent an email with her resume.
her resume and everything was sent back in
It was
July,
sent earlier.
actually.
Yeah, I just
So
didn't know.
we've seen it
We got it
multiple
again.
times.
We got it again.
Okay, then is there no questions? We've got a motion, we've got a second, we have no questions, so I'm going to start. Deb, what say you? Let Deb come back at it.
Aye, I'm good. Aye.
Here we go. Chris, how about you?
Aye.
Marty?
Aye.
Lynn?
I
Priscilla? Abstention from Priscilla. Molly?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Tina?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Brenda?
Aye.
Congratulations, you have a Title I teacher for Compass
And
School.
just for the board's knowledge, we are only funding at a 0.8, and so
Yes, that's
Compass
important to know.
will cover the other or figure out what they want to do. So
All right,
that's up to them, but we only have to fund up to that, a certain dollar amount, so that's 0.8.
all right. Item 8A, superintendent's goals. I'm going to speak to this briefly. Andy and I have met and reviewed the goals that were created for him by Jessa. There are items in there that frankly aren't superintendent goals. There are some that he met, there's some that I don't think the goal was particularly realistic, but it's been partially met. I would like to do two things. I'd like to review it with the executive committee and call a meeting of that. And I'm going to send out one of those survey monkeys to get that put together in the next 10 days if possible. And I'll send you my notes, and then we can meet and discuss it. I think that many of the items that were actually the superintendent's as opposed to other people's were met, but this will be a decision for you all. Yes, Jim?
Did you send your goals out to us? I know I asked for.
These are from last year.
We will send the goals for this year out. Hopefully, we're going to turn this around pretty quickly because
Okay,
it's
so
should have been
so
done
waiting.
months ago.
Well, as per my contract, it's October, so
Okay.
they'll be coming out at that time.
I want to get the afterburns on that because actually Andy has owed some money, to be honest with you, and I'll make sure we get it to him. If there are no other questions on this, I'm going to move on to 8B, increase amount for federal recommendations again.
Speak to this real quick. Last meeting, we'd asked you a request to increase it to 45,000 because I had been given information from one person at the AOE that was the threshold. Since having that, the AOE has also told me $50,000, which is the federal amount. And actually what we've done and researched it, it's actually 40,000 is the state. So the state has set their maximum at $40,000. So we would just ask if the board would be willing to revise that motion to change it to meet the $40,000 threshold, so that we're just not out of compliance.
We can do that one of two ways. We could just simply meet to have it, the language of the motion one of you is going to give to conform with state law, which is currently $40,000, or just simply state $40,000. It's up to you all. I would prefer the conformance with state law because frankly, it'd be nice if they ever increased it, that we could do so too, because it's really getting hard.
I would like the board to do it at 40,000, so I would make a motion to increase the bid policy amount. Federal recommendation, the state recommendation of $40,000. The reason for doing the 40,000, if I can speak to it, is because we then would have.
Let's get a second, and then
We don't need a second, we're starting.
Okay, well, we do now. So go ahead, continue.
I can speak to it because that way we control at the point that we want to increase it. It's not controlled by somebody else.
All
So
right.
if we put the 40,000 in there.
So noted. Any discussion, Cheryl?
Well, I think, we voted to approve it at 45.
Right.
And so this needs to be action to rescind the prior motion or something to acknowledge that this is.
Can we put it together to rescind the prior motion and change the bid amount to the federal recommendation of 40,000?
I'll assume that's a
State, it's a state, right? It's a state.
I'm sorry, that's what I said first, but change it back to, I
So,
apologize.
to-
The state recommendation of
Of
$40,000.
$40,000.
And I don't, I don't know how important it is to, in a motion, to say the recommendation of state, it's the state guidelines.
State guidelines, okay.
All right, I'm going to assume that whoever's taking notes on this one will clarify, do some mind reading and get this properly framed. Is there further discussion on this point? Does anyone wish to amend it? Are we all good on this? Hearing no further objection, I've got a motion, I've got a second. Chris Kibbe, what say you?
Yay.
Yeah, this is the motion is to change, to rescind the prior motion regarding the increased bid and change it to the state guidelines of $40,000 as the cap.
Yes.
Got a
Yes.
yes from Chris. Deb Wright, what say you?
Aye.
Hardy?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Priscilla?
Yes.
Brenda?
Yes.
Cheryl?
Yes.
Teen?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Molly?
Yes.
We're good there.
Thank
All
you
right,
very much.
done. All right, now the three items, C, D, and E, are standing items. Do we have anything on these tonight to bring to our attention to discuss? Yeah, because I know that something sounds like you're a little hung up.
We're kind of still in the process with the preschool. We're still waiting for the report. And so I think we're kind of still in that holding pattern.
All right.
So,
I want to briefly, there was a discussion about nature-based education that Cheryl was part of, and I'm wondering if you might just briefly, I don't think we talked, did we talk about it in our last meeting? We did, okay, then there's nothing further on that. Then moving on, 9 is this legal matter, which we are going to meet in an executive session. We'll need a motion to that effect.
We're gonna do that after.
Yes, I'm gonna say, we'll do that after director's comments. But I just want to make people aware, and we will start with director's comments. Chris?
Oh, well, I just want to say congratulations to all for the successful start of the new school year, and I hope things go well for foreseeable future.
Deb Wright?
Only that if indeed there is anything that we can do as signers of the warrants to speed up our process, that's what we should do in order to facilitate change. I realize not releasing checks until signatures are in place, at least the 2. And we need to stay on top of that. It is one of our duties. Thanks.
Thank you for that. Brenda?
I'm off.
All right, Cheryl?
A statement was made in the remarks made by the union representative tonight, and that alluded to the, I'm searching for the word for a moment, but the concept that had to do with a retention bonus.
Yeah.
And that was a complaint in the statement made that the bonus came out after people had left employment.
Right.
And I would actually like to have this as an agenda item at another meeting, because when the discussion began about use of ESSER monies for a retention bonus, it first came up January or February last year.
Right.
And the intention was to try to get that bonus out to people currently in service. And it's really because of our various difficulties with the finance office and all of the systems involved that compensation was not made during the current school year, last year. So I know we can't discuss it now nor take any action. I simply would like it to be on the agenda.
I've got it noted here, and we will try to take care of that. Teen?
Similar to Chris, just thank you to everyone who's got the school year up and running. From my perspective in Westminster, it has been a very smooth start, and kids are very happy to be back. So thank you.
Mr. McCullough?
No, I'm good, thank you.
David Clark?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a delayed public comment, and most board members have already received it, but I wanted to make sure it got read into the record tonight because we seem to have continuing problems with minutes. And this was addressed to dear WNESU board members. When you are out on your fact-finding tour this afternoon, you will be observing the first law of the physical universe, which is space fills up, except when it doesn't. school enrollments have dropped significantly over time in Wyndham Northeast, and as that has happened, a leveling effect has taken place, which simply put is more square feet per teacher, student, specialist, or custodian. However, the exception to the space fills up rule was clearly illustrated at the last meeting of the High School Buildings and Grounds Committee when Deb Gass from the Head Start Early Education Center, Buck Drive by Allen Brothers, asked under Communications and Public Comments just exactly where Wyndham Northeast intended to find the necessary population to make an economic go of the proposal, which has been quietly floated by administration when her center is only half full. I have some suggestions for you. Hire a space consultant. Maybe perhaps this board did check that box tonight, we'll find out. Get a disinterested third-party assessment of the market, which is being touted as being sufficient to actually generate a profit, as well as the inevitable response from the outlying WNESU communities, who will rightly point out that this proposal is exclusionary. An assessment, in this case, is a legal opinion. Figure out how you're going to wiggle out of your WNESU office lease for space created specifically to meet the needs of the WNESU Central Administration, which has 3 years to run and contains no early termination clause. Also, please see number 2, legal opinion above. This high school board member believes ESSA money should be applied to existing infrastructure before creating new spaces based on a speculative hunch. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. Moving on, Hardy Merrill. Wynn?
Nothing.
Priscilla?
Yes, I'm impressed with the start of the year in our buildings, and I want to recognize the hard work of our administration, the hard work of the business office people, that particularly Jim, who is here tonight, and hopefully in correcting the pay before next time, so we don't have a glitch, because I think they're working hard, and I have faith that they can do that. I also want to recognize the teachers and the staffs in all of the buildings, because what they're putting out there is crucial to our children growing up and being really good community members. Hopefully, a lot of them staying in our local environment and contributing to our local communities. And I would remind, as we saw when we entered this building.
Oh, so today there was a hydraulic spill.
The I in kind.
I
as we
saw.
in the
Deb,
building.
Deb, you're not unmuted if you're talking to us.
I just muted her.
Okay,
It says I'm muted. Sorry.
I would finish by saying, as we saw coming into this building, keep the I in kind and remember to be kind. And it was amazing when people stood under that I, if you could take your picture with the word kind and you were standing there. It was just such an eye-opening thing to think about. So do a kindness each day. Thank you.
Molly?
Our football team got their first win last weekend against Bradboro. That's always exciting. I was out of town, but I heard by many people. First I heard, where were you? Why weren't you there? And then I heard that the parking lot was full and bleachers were full, and it was a huge success all the way around. So that helps the Booster Club too. So that was nice. And it was my pleasure today to drive the bus to all the schools. I borrowed a van that a family member had and picked up, well, we started with 7 of us in the van and ended up with 6 in the van, but
Well, we didn't lose anyone.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I want to make sure.
It's redistributed.
Well, there's a lot of reasons why people are on school boards, and I've always tried to pride myself on not having an agenda, but wanting to do what was right for the taxpayers, but really our kids. And to be able to go around and see other schools, see what we're doing, it was nice to do.
Yeah.
Learned a lot by being in the van for some time with people like Andy and Jigs and Jim, and being able to hear different ideas, and, you know, it's good that we were able to, you know, to have that time to be able to just bounce things off each other too, and we didn't solve anything, we didn't make any decisions, all we did was ride in the van, but it was a good afternoon, and I was glad I could participate, so thank you very much, everyone.
When we came into the driveway waiting to come into the building, we heard a bunch of very enthusiastic cheerleaders with apparently quite a bit of cheer. It's really nice to hear school spirit and the enthusiasm that we have in early September. May we have it in the middle of June. I have to tell you, I've recently talked to a couple of superintendents that are moving on elsewhere outside this area, and one of the things that they've said is kind things about the current superintendent we have, and both admiration and some feeling sorry for the business manager. I think we don't always appreciate as much as we can the leadership, both in our buildings and our administration overall. One of the ways that you get impressed is you contrast and compare. I've done a little of that recently, and we're very fortunate, is all I can say. And finally, just a thank you to all those that were in Molly's Magical Mystery Tour today. I learned some things that I didn't know about facilities. We have some facilities to be very proud of that look beautiful, that are working well. We have some facilities that we need to pull the emergency cord on, take a hard look at, and that's going to be a discussion I'm sure the individual districts will have, and the SU needs to do what it can, and this board needs to do what it can to support that, because as you all know, ESSER money is a competitive thing to some extent. It's an intramural sport between all of the districts, and we have to make certain that fair is fair and we fix the things that are broken. And we saw a few of them, and that's a good step as we go forward. Thank you all. We are going to now, I'm looking for a motion to go into executive session to discuss a legal matter and for which premature knowledge would adversely affect the interests of all parties. I've got a motion.
And invite the administration
to join us in this doubtless fun meeting. So all in favor, I have to do the roll call. Chris, what say you?
Yay.
Deb?
Yes.
Hardy?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
administration.
Priscilla?
Yes.
Molly?
Yes,
Oh,
sorry.
Jake? Teen?
Yeah.
Cheryl? Brenda?
Yes.
All right.
I got one to do.